You ever have your truck keep running after you pull the key? I'm not talking about a little engine knock or a sputter. I mean full on, humming, lights on, dashboard glowing, like nothing changed. That's what happened to me last winter just outside of Junction, Texas. Was finishing a 3-day haul across I-10. Cold, dry night. Stars were bright, sky was empty. Pulled into a dirt lot behind an old service station to rest a few hours before the final leg dot killed the lights. Put her in park. Turned the key dot. But she didn't stop. I even pulled the damn key out, held it in my hand, stared at it like it had betrayed me. But the engine kept purring like I hadn't done a thing. That low rumble, a little deeper than usual, throatier, almost like a growl if you listen close. I remember sitting there, not scared at first, just annoyed. Figured it was some electrical thing, maybe the ignition cylinder jammed. These older Freightliners do weird stuff sometimes, but the longer I sat, the more I realized it wasn't just running dot, it was waiting dot, and I didn't know. For what? I tried everything dot, popped the hood, checked the battery terminals tight as hell. Thought maybe I could stall it out, so I disconnected the negative cable. Sparks flew, but the engine didn't even hiccup. It just kept humming, steady and strong like it was laughing at me. I got back in the cab, turned the key in my hand over and over, slid it back in, jiggled it, turned it again, off, on, off. Nothing, the dash didn't even blink, RPMs held steady, coolant levels fine, no codes, no check engine, nothing dot. Then I heard it, a thud dot soft, like something shifting in the sleeper behind me dot now comma I'd been on the road alone for 3 days. Never picked up a soul. I don't do team drives. Hell, I barely even let people ride up, front unless they're paying for gas. So when I heard that sound again, thud, then a drag, I felt this slow chill bleed into my arms. I turned quick. Empty dot, curtains closed. I reached back, yanked them open dot. Still empty dot. But that smell, burnt rubber, wet metal, and something underneath it, like an old drain. Rotting water. Closed the curtain and tried to laugh it off. Told myself it was the engine vibrating something loose in the back, maybe a strap or box shifting dot. Then the lights flickered dot. Just once. Cab lights dimmed, then popped back to full brightness. Then the radio turned on. Volume maxed. Static at first, then this garbled mess of sound. Like 100 voices trying to scream and whisper at the same time. Couldn't make out a single word, but they all felt like they were crawling into my ears. I punched the dial, didn't turn off. I held the power button, nothing. Then I saw the display dot, no station dot, no numbers dot, just symbols. Ones I'd never seen before. Jagged, crooked things that looked hand-carved. I yanked the power cable from the back of the unit dot, silence dot. The engine still ran. I sat there sweating in my coat, staring at the dash. My own reflection in the windshield looked tired, but there was something off about it. I leaned in dot, and I swear to God, it blinked at me dot, but I hadn't blinked. I stepped out of the cab just to breathe. Needed to feel real air in my lungs. The lot behind the station was empty. No cars, no lights, no sound. Even the bugs were quiet. I walked a slow circle around the rig, looked under the chassis. No leaks, no smoke, just that steady hum like the engine was idling through its own set of lungs. I pulled my phone out to search for a roadside mechanic. Bars were weak, but one number popped up, listed less than 10 miles out. Earl's Heavy Wrecker. I called dot, guy answered on the second ring, didn't say hello, just said, still running, isn't it? I froze. Who is this? He sighed. Said his name was Earl, asked for my location. I told him. He said he'd be there in 20. Hung up before I could ask how he knew dot. While I waited, I checked something. Something dumb. Something I didn't want to be right about. I stood under the floodlight next to the service station dot. My rig cast no shadow dot. But I did. I backed up, moved, around, even turned on my flashlight to check again. Nothing. My truck stood there, massive, humming. But the ground beneath it was clean, flat. Like it didn't exist. 20 minutes passed. Then headlights broke the silence. Old flatbed tow truck rolled up slow, gravel crunching beneath fat tires. Out stepped Earl. Graybeard, overalls, looked like he hadn't slept in a week. He took one look at the Freightliner and stopped cold. Jesus Christ, he muttered. It's one of those. I asked what he meant. He wouldn't look at me. You ever lend your keys to anyone? He asked. Ever take a shortcut through somewhere you shouldn't? What the hell does that mean? He just stared at the hood. Sometimes things come back wrong. They look right, feel right, but they ain't yours anymore. I told him I wanted it shut off. He shook his head. I won't touch it, he said. If I do, it might follow me home. Then he got back in his truck and drove off. Didn't charge me. Didn't say goodbye. Just left me there, alone with my still running truck. And that growl in the engine was getting deeper. I should have walked away. Left it in the lot and hitchhiked to hell if I had to. But I couldn't. This was my livelihood, my home most weeks. And some part of me still believed this was just a glitch, some freak electrical thing. So I got in, put it in drive. The truck rolled out smooth as ever, but something felt different. The steering had a delay, like the rig was thinking before turning. The mirrors. That's what really got me. The landscape they showed wasn't the same as the road behind me. In the glass I saw pine trees, but I was surrounded by desert. And the sky? It was darker in the reflection. Moonless. Wrong. Every few minutes I'd catch something dart across the mirrored road like a figure running alongside me in that other place. And then there was the sleeper cab. I saw someone. Just once, a shape sitting cross-legged on the bunk, head tilted too far to one side. I looked back. Nothing. Empty. Checked the mirror again. Still there. Still watching. I pulled over hard, heart hammering. Threw open the cab and climbed into the sleeper. Blankets untouched. No sign of anyone. But the air back there was freezing. Breath fog cold. I backed out fast, slammed the divider and locked it. Like that would do a damn thing. I drove on, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles cracked. The roads grew unfamiliar, even though I was following the same highway I'd taken 100 times. Signs were gone, mile markers blurred. No cars passed me, not one. Then the radio came back on. Not static this time. A voice. Mine. It was me, talking. Repeating things I'd said earlier that night, muttered under my breath. Then it began responding to me, echoing my thoughts in real time. I tested it, said something out loud. A second later, it repeated it, only the voice wasn't. Exact. It was off. Too flat, too hollow, like it had copied the shape of my voice but not the soul in it. And then it asked, "Can I drive now?" I pulled over so hard I nearly jackknifed, heart beating like a war drum. Something was inside my truck. And it wanted to take over. I sat there, engine idling, staring at the wheel like it might move on its own. The voice didn't speak again. The cab was silent. Too silent. Like all the air had been sucked out. I decided then, I was done. I was going to ditch the truck at the nearest gas station, call for help, walk. If I had to. 10 miles later, I saw a lit-up chevron glowing on the horizon like a lifeboat. I pulled in. Parked. Keys still in my pocket. And the engine still running. I climbed out slow, eyes locked on the rig, daring it to do something. For a second I stood there in the cold, the pump lights flickering above me. Then the truck moved. Not much, just a twitch, like it lurched in place. I blinked. Maybe it rolled on a gear shift. I took one step toward the station, and the headlights turned off. Then back on. Like it was watching me. I ran to the storefront, pounded on the locked glass. No answer. Place was closed. I turned back toward the lot and froze. My truck was gone. Not stalled. Gone. No tire marks. No engine noise. Just empty pavement. Didn't hear it pull up behind me. But I felt it. That low rumble rolled through my spine like a growl under the earth. I turned and saw it slowly crawling down the shoulder, turning back into the lot, without a driver. I ran back, flung the door open, climbed into the cab like an idiot. Dot. The moment I sat, the doors locked. Dot. The dash was glowing red. All the gauges were spinning, and the odometer, it was counting backward. Dot, from a number I didn't recognize. Fast, like a countdown. Dot. Then the radio came alive. Same voice. My voice. Dot. Only this time it wasn't talking to me. Dot. It was screaming. Let me out. Let me out. I didn't say yes. And then it wasn't my voice anymore. Dot. It was hundreds. Dot. Thousands. Dot. Layered over each other like meat on a bone. Begging, laughing, shrieking, saying the same words. Can I drive now? Can I drive now? Can I drive now? I tried to open the door. Wouldn't budge. I slammed the gear into reverse, then drive over and over. But the truck wouldn't stop driving itself. Dot. It had me. Dot. And it wasn't letting go. I woke up in a ditch outside San Angelo. Dot. Middle of the day, sun blazing. My rig was parked perfectly on the shoulder, engine off, keys still in my coat pocket. I was lying in the grass, mud in my teeth, boots missing. Dot. Phone still in my hand. Dot. First thing I saw was a video playing on the screen. Dot. It was me. Behind the wheel, driving. Dot. Only I wasn't me. Dot. My eyes were wide, dead. I was talking to someone next to me. Only the passenger seat was empty. Every so often my head would twitch like a puppet on loose strings. I junked the truck that afternoon, paid to have it crushed on site. Didn't even stay to watch. Dot. But that night, just past 2 a.m., I heard it again. Dot. Outside my apartment window. Dot. That low rumble. The unmistakable whine of my old diesel engine. Dot. It faded before I could get up to look. I haven't driven since. Dot. But some nights, when the wind is still and my keys are hanging on the hook, I hear them jingle. Dot. And for a split second, I swear I smell burnt rubber. Dot. Like the truck's still out there. Dot. Still running. Dot. Still waiting. You ever get that feeling someone's sitting right behind you? Like the air shifts just enough and your body knows before your brain catches up? That started happening to me about a week before I quit. Long hauls, overnights, Midwest routes, same routine for years. But that week, I swear something was wrong. Not with the truck. With the space inside it. Dot. Things started moving when I wasn't looking. The mirrors adjusted on their own. I'd get in and find my seat reclined, the radio set to stations I don't listen to. Static, mostly. Thought I was losing it. Sleep deprivation, stress, whatever. Dot. But one night, somewhere outside Des Moines, I looked in my side mirror and saw myself. Not a reflection, not a trick of the light. Me, sitting in the passenger seat, just staring straight ahead, hands folded neatly. I turned my head. The seat was empty. I never told my boss, never filed a report. Who the hell would believe me? But that night was only the beginning. The real nightmare didn't start until I realized I wasn't the only one making decisions in that cab. And by the time I tried to fight it, it was already behind the wheel. Dot. Dispatch called it a milk run. Long but easy. Pick up in Kansas City, drop in Billings. No special handling, no deadlines, just me and the road. I'd done the route before. Open highways, barely any radio chatter after midnight. Just the occasional set of headlights rolling past. Peaceful, in theory. But about 2 hours in, something started to feel off. Dot. It began with the mirrors. They tilted slightly. Not much, just enough that I had to readjust them every 30 miles. I blamed the wind, the road, maybe my elbow brushing the controls. But by the third time, I knew I hadn't touched anything. Dot. Then the radio cut from old country to static, unprompted. I reached down, flipped the dial, but it wouldn't change, just that soft crackling hiss. When I finally killed the power, it clicked itself back on. Not loud, not sudden, just quiet, like it was trying not to get caught. That's when the cruise control light blinked on. Dot. My foot wasn't on the pedal. Dot. The engine purred along at 65, steady, but the highway curved and the wheel didn't move. I grabbed it fast and swerved back into lane. The cruise disengaged. I sat there, heart hammering, breathing like I'd just run a marathon. Faulty wiring, I muttered out loud. Old truck. Happens. But I knew this rig inside out. The steering never twitched, the cruise never misfired, and no damn radio ever turned itself back on. At the next stoplight, I opened the glove box to grab a protein bar. It was empty. But I had stocked it that morning. A fresh box and 6 bars, all gone. I scanned the cab. Nothing. The wrappers weren't on the floor. Not under the seats. Not anywhere. I looked at the passenger seat, perfectly adjusted, reclined slightly. Seatbelt loose, like someone had just gotten up. That was the first time I whispered it out loud, voice barely audible over the hum of the tires. Who's riding with me? No answer. But in the corner of the windshield, a faint smudge appeared. 4 long streaks, like fingers dragged slowly across the glass. From the inside. At the next fuel stop, I pulled into a 24-hour truck plaza just outside Lincoln. One of those middle-of-nowhere stations with flickering fluorescent lights and vending machines that haven't worked since the '98. I stepped out to refuel, walked around the rig like always in habit. Tires, trailer locks, clearance lights, everything looked normal. Except when I came back, the driver's side door was locked. That door never locks unless I press the button. And I hadn't. I patted my pockets, confused. My keys were still in the ignition. I saw them hanging there through the glass. Engine off, no lights, just dead silence inside. I knocked on the window. And that's when the dome light came on. I froze, stared inside, waiting for movement. Nothing. The seat was empty, keys still swinging slightly, like they'd been touched. I grabbed the spare from my back pocket, got in, and scanned the cab. Something, had gone through my stuff. The logbook had pages torn out. My thermos was sitting on the passenger seat, lid off, coffee still warm. My duffel bag looked zipped, but when I opened it, my clothes were folded differently. Tighter, military tight. I checked the dash cam. Dead. No power. Just a frozen red light blinking. Corrupted. By this point, I needed to hear a human voice, something normal. I flipped on the CB, scanned through static until I found a guy named Red Dog hauling poultry 2 towns over. I told him what was happening, left out the freaky stuff just mentioned. My cab might have been tampered with. He laughed, said maybe I picked up a ghost hitchhiker. Then someone else cut in. Not Red Dog. Not me. A third voice. Low. Calm, clear. It said, he's not alone in there. Red Dog went silent. I waited, mic in hand. Then the third voice added, check the mirror again. My stomach dropped. I looked. Nothing. Just black highway and my own eyes staring back. But for a split second, no more than a blink, I saw it. A face. Not mine. Not human. Just wide eyes and a crooked grin, inches from my headrest, gone in a flash. The CB crackled again. Then the engine started on its own. I didn't touch the key. The engine rumbled to life, headlights flaring out across the dark lot. My hands were shaking as I slammed the CB off and threw the truck into gear. I didn't care about fuel, didn't care about sleep. I just had to keep moving. But the temperature inside the cab dropped like a stone. My breath fogged in front of me, the windows iced over, and from the inside. I cranked the heat, but it didn't help. It wasn't just cold. It felt occupied. I drove for hours. Couldn't bring myself to stop. But somewhere near the Montana line, exhaustion hit me like a brick wall. My eyelids started dragging. Every mile felt heavier. I pulled off at a rest area, empty, just me and a flickering streetlight, and parked. I locked the doors, made sure the cabin light was off. I crawled into the sleeper compartment, buried myself in the blanket, and told myself it was just stress, isolation. Night driving paranoia. Sometime after 3 a.m., I heard it. Footsteps. Above me. I froze. There was no upper bunk. Nothing above the sleeper but the roof of the cab. Still, slow, deliberate steps, one after the other pacing directly overhead, like someone trapped between metal layers, walking on invisible beams. Then they stopped, and the engine revved. Lunged forward, threw open the curtain. The key was still in my pocket. The RPMs rose again. Higher, louder. And then they cut. Just silence. I grabbed my flashlight and scanned the cab. Nothing. Until I looked at the windshield. 4. New handprints. Large. Palm forward. Spread wide, like someone pressing against the glass, trying to look in. I reached for the door handle, and it wouldn't budge. Stuck. Welded shut by air or fear or something. Then I saw it. In the passenger seat. Not a figure. Not even a shadow. Just the indentation, as if someone had just gotten up and left a second before I turned my head. But that seatbelt? Still stretched. Still fastened. And the belt was warm to the touch. Whatever had been sitting there, it hadn't been long gone. It was still close. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. Just sat there, flashlight clenched, engine idling. Every creak in the cab made my skin crawl. By morning, I peeled back onto the highway with one goal: get the load dropped, ditch the truck, and call it quits. No job's worth this. At a diner outside Billings, I stopped for coffee and maybe a little courage. The waitress, older, worn down by long nights and longer stories, saw the look on my face. I didn't say much, but she asked if I was hauling. Solo. I nodded. Then she said, "That rig out there, did you know it used to belong to a guy named Hal Burton?" I shook my head. Went off the road near Rapid City, about 6 years ago. Burned alive. Bad wreck. They salvaged what was left. Guess they sold the cab. People say it still shows up, even when it shouldn't. My stomach turned. When I got back to the truck, I pulled up the VIN history from the app on my phone, something I'd never once cared to check. There it was. Original owner, Hal Burton. Retired fleet. Totaled. Reassigned. And I'd been driving it for 4 months. That night was my last run. I didn't care if the load was late. I floored it westbound, trying to outrun whatever was still clinging to the wheel. But the truck had other plans. Somewhere on a lonely stretch of I-90, the wheel yanked left, hard. I fought it, screamed, punched the dash. The mirrors folded in on their own. The wipers turned on against a clear sky. Then I saw him. In the reflection, not the road, but in the glass. A man, charred and twitching, face frozen in a scream. Sitting in my seat, grinning. He grabbed the wheel again. I could feel it resist me. So I did the only thing I could. I slammed the brakes, pulled the wheel hard, and jackknifed the whole damn rig into a ditch. The trailer tipped. The cab hit gravel. Metal screamed. And then silence. When I opened my eyes, smoke was rising. I was alive. But the truck, it just sat there still idling. Calm. Like it had finally let me go. The company wrote it off as driver error. Said I must have fallen asleep or overcorrected. I didn't argue. Let the insurance do its thing. Didn't say a word about what really happened. I quit 2 days later. The rig was hauled to a salvage yard just outside Missoula. I looked it up once. Satellite view. There it was, my old cab, just sitting there behind a chain-link fence, hood twisted, windshield shattered. I told myself I'd never look again. But sometimes when I'm out running errands late, grocery, runs, gas station stops, I swear I see those headlights in my mirror. Just for a second. Always a few cars behind. Never too close, just watching. A month ago, I woke up in my apartment, boots muddy, keys in hand. I live alone. No one else has access. No memory of going out. No sign I ever left. But the floors were wet. Not soaked, just tracked. Like someone had been pacing. And on my fridge, stuck under a magnet, was a photo. Of me. In the cab, Smiling. Seatbelt fastened. And a shadow, faint but clear, sitting beside me. Whatever was driving with me, it still knows the way home. The road behind me stopped existing, but only in the mirror. At first, I figured I was just tired. Driving too long without rest does things to your brain. Your eyelids get heavy, the lines on the pavement start dancing, and shadows stretch in ways they shouldn't. I'd chalked it up to sleep deprivation until the third night, when I looked in my rear view and saw a fork in the road I never passed. No fork. No alternate lane. Just a 2-lane stretch of highway in the middle of West Texas. But in the mirror, 2 paths. One curved left toward a mountain range that didn't exist. I even stopped the truck, stepped outside, turned around. Nothing but flat earth and cactus. That's when the fear set in, not jump scare terror, but a slow, bone-deep chill. Like something was off with the world, and I was the only one seeing it. I kept driving. But every night after that, the mirror changed. Roads, that didn't match. Signs I hadn't passed. Towns with names I didn't recognize. Always in the rear view. Always behind me. Like another road was watching. Waiting for me to look back. It started 3 weeks ago. I was hauling a refrigeration load from El Paso to Tulsa. Nothing out of the ordinary. Long stretch, mostly night driving, empty highways. The kind of run where you let the cruise control do the work and your mind wanders. I was somewhere past Midland when I first saw it. Just a flicker in the mirror, a split in the road. Only comma. I knew I hadn't passed any turnoffs. That section of highway is straight as a rifle barrel. But in the rear view, there it was. 2 separate roads diverging like a Y, one continuing the route I knew, and the other veering left into dark terrain I couldn't place. I slowed to a crawl, heart kicking up, then pulled onto the shoulder, threw the flashers on, climbed down and turned back. Nothing. No fork. Just empty asphalt and dust. No tire marks. No split. I even walked back 100 feet or so, shining my flashlight along the pavement, solid, unbroken. I felt stupid. Maybe a reflection? A hallucination? I hadn't slept in over 30 hours. Yeah, that had to be it. But the next night, the mirror changed again. This time, I was near Amarillo. Open stretch, moon low and orange. I checked my mirrors. Habit, you. No, and that's when I saw it. A figure. Not standing on the road, but just off it, maybe 20 yards back. Facing away. Still, not moving. I tapped the brakes, glanced over my shoulder. Nothing. Looked back in the mirror. Still there. I put it in reverse, heart pounding now, and slowly backed up 100 feet. Checked again. Empty. My hands were shaking as I pulled back onto the road. After that, I started, avoiding the mirror unless I had to check it. I'd peek during lane changes, but nothing more. It felt like the kind of thing that grew stronger the more you looked. But every time I did, the roads behind me looked less like the ones I'd actually driven. Sometimes older, sometimes damaged, sometimes wrong. As if the mirror wasn't showing the past, it was showing somewhere else. A place just one bad glance away. I started taping over the mirror with black duct tape. Felt ridiculous doing it, like some kind of superstitious old-timer afraid of shadows, but I couldn't take the visions anymore. Not just roads. Entire towns started showing up back there. Half-burned street signs, distant fires on the horizon, places that felt ancient, abandoned. Once I saw an overpass crumbling into the dark, vines choking the pillars like veins. In the figure. He was always there now. No face, no motion, just standing in the same spot, always in the rear view. At first, it stayed small, like a speck, in the distance. But each night it crept closer, like he was walking the mirror road, one invisible mile at a time. Always catching up. I started driving only during the day. Tried sleeping in well-lit truck stops. But the visions didn't care. About time. One morning I climbed into the cab, Rubbed the sleep from my eyes and saw the duct tape peeled back. Not torn, peeled, clean. Like someone had slowly lifted the corners in silence while I slept feet away. The figure was there again. Closer. Right behind my trailer now. I left the truck and checked behind me with my own 2 eyes. Empty. I began to doubt everything. My sanity. My memory. Maybe I was sleep-deprived, maybe I'd finally cracked. But then the glitches started. GPS rerouting on its own. Phantom rest stops on the screen that weren't on the map. Radio static even when turned off. My engine would sputter every time I passed a certain mile marker, then smooth out like nothing happened. The rearview mirror began showing my truck. A different angle. Like a second rig driving behind me, perfectly mirroring my speed. Same color, same trailer, except the taillights weren't the same. Mine were LED, the ones in the mirror were dimmer, older. I thought I was imagining it until one night the CB lit up, unplugged and dead for weeks. And a voice came through, low, breathy. You're in my lane. I didn't sleep that night, I just drove. As far and fast as I could. But every time I checked the mirror, the figure was still there. Closer now. Always closer. I started asking questions. At a truck wash in Arkansas. I met a guy named Ray. Old school, full beard, eyes like he'd seen war. We got to talking over coffee and grease-stained paper plates. I told him, carefully, about what I'd seen. About the mirror. The figure. The roads that didn't match. He didn't laugh. Didn't blink. Just stared at me for a while, then said real quiet, "You're not supposed to look." That stopped me cold. He leaned in like he was afraid the walls had ears. Said some of the older hands call it mirror rot. Said it's not ghosts or demons, it's you or some version of you. Roads that cross when they shouldn't. Split timelines. Bad exits. Take the wrong one and you don't die. You just diverge. You see it long enough, he said. It starts looking back. He told me there's a stretch of folklore among highway vets. Never written down, only whispered. After midnight, never stare too long in the mirror, especially on old roads, especially when you're running solo. Some believe the mirror doesn't reflect where you've been, but where you could have gone. Places you weren't supposed to reach, but once you see it, Ray said, it sees you too. I asked him what happens if you keep looking. He didn't answer. Just shook his head and paid his tab. That night, I covered the mirror again, taped it tight, even tied a bandana around it for good measure. But when I woke up at 3:17 a.m., the tape was gone. The bandana too. The mirror was clean. Polished. And this time the figure wasn't just standing still. He was moving. Walking. Step by step. Same build as me, same posture, same tilt of the head. I watched frozen as he raised one hand and placed it against the inside of the mirror. My phone buzzed. No caller ID. One word in the text. Closer. I dropped the phone. My knees buckled. I didn't know where I was anymore, on this side of the glass or the other. And when I looked again, he was smiling. After that night, I stopped trusting the road entirely. The highways began to feel artificial, like I was driving through a set someone hadn't finished building. Towns repeated. Same gas station twice in 1 hour, same clerk, same radio playing the same broken chorus. A billboard for a lawyer in Kentucky showed up again in Missouri. Either I was losing my mind, or the world behind the mirror was bleeding through. And then, the real kicker. I saw a new exit ramp. Not on my GPS. Not on any map. No lights, no sign. Just a crooked split from the highway, almost hidden by a tree-lined. But I recognized it. I'd seen it every night in the rear view for the past week. The same broken guardrail, the same flickering street lamp that never existed in my world. It was ahead of me now. Not behind. My knuckles went white on the wheel. I passed it the first time. Drove 10 miles, pulled over, breathing like I'd run a marathon. Checked the mirror. The exit was still there. Only now, in the mirror, I was taking it. I watched myself turn the wheel. Signal left. Veer off into the dark dot. And then the CB, silent for days, whined to life with a voice that sounded exactly like mine. Come on. You're already here. I don't remember turning around. I just remember my tires crunching gravel, the ramp unfolding in front of me like it had been waiting. The terrain changed immediately. The trees grew denser. The road narrowed. I kept driving. Miles passed, or maybe hours. The same diner appeared 3 times, identical in every way. The last time the parking lot was full of trucks, every one of them identical to mine. Same license plate. Same dent in the bumper. I looked in the mirror. The figure was gone. But there was a truck behind me now. Same make. Same model. Same trailer. Only this one had a crack in the windshield, exactly where my rig doesn't. I hit the brakes. The truck behind me stopped too. It waited. And then the CB whispered again, soft and cold. Switch. I floored it, heart punching my ribs. But no matter how fast I drove, the mirror showed the truck behind me, getting closer. And I swear to God, he was smiling. I don't know how much longer I have. I'm pulled over somewhere off an unmarked service road, writing this on a torn logbook page with a dying flashlight clipped to the visor. My GPS says I'm in Oklahoma. My map says I'm in Kansas. The mirror says I'm nowhere at all. I've stopped looking into it. I taped it again, bolted a steel panel over it. Doesn't matter. I still feel it, like a second heartbeat in the cab. I know he's still there, closer than ever. Every time I blink, I swear I hear another rig idling behind mine, breathing in sync. The world outside looks wrong now. The moon doesn't move. The stars don't blink. I passed a Welcome to Wyoming sign 3 times tonight, and I never left the county line. I think I switched. Or he did. Maybe we both did. If you're reading this and you drive at night, cover your mirror after midnight. Don't answer voices on a dead CB. And for the love of God, never take an exit ramp that wasn't there yesterday. Because some roads, they reflect you back. But they don't always give you back. And sometimes the one that comes out the other side isn't you. You know how they say every trucker has that one haul they don't talk about? This is mine. I haven't driven in over 3 years. Sold the rig, changed my name. Never looked back. Not on the job, not on the company, not even on the road itself. And yeah, I know how that sounds, but when you've delivered the kind of thing I did, you don't want to look back, you just pray it doesn't follow. It was supposed to be an easy overnight run, small load, isolated route, no weight issues, no client contact. But the second I saw that crate, 6 feet long, wrapped in chains, cold as ice, I knew something was wrong. And then I saw the label. It wasn't printed. It was carved into the wood, deep and ragged, like someone had done it with a screwdriver. Do not open. Ever. No instructions, no signature, just those 4 words. I should have walked away. God knows I should have. But I didn't. I took the job. I locked the trailer. And by the time I realized what was really back there, it was already too late. The pickup location wasn't on my normal route map, just a set of coordinates south of the city, off a frontage road no one ever used. I almost missed the turn. The sign was so weather-worn it just read WA HSE 17B, like something from a decommissioned military site. The dock was barely lit. Half the bulbs were flickering. No company logo, no staff outside. Just a man in a dark coat standing under a floodlight like he'd been waiting all night. He didn't say his name. Didn't ask mine. Just nodded at the rig, then motioned to the forklift driver behind him. I stepped out thinking I'd need to sign something, but the man only said one thing, voice low, dead serious. Don't stop. Don't open it. Don't speak to it. I laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. He didn't. The crate was big. 6 feet long, maybe 3 feet wide, covered in a thick tarp, bolted to a metal pallet. The whole thing was wrapped in iron chains, thick ones, crisscrossed like a deadbolt cocoon. No labels, no barcodes, just that carved message burned into the side like a warning. Do not open. Ever. I stepped closer to inspect it and instantly pulled back. It was cold. Not like left outside overnight cold. I mean freezer cold. The kind that seeps into your bones just by standing near it. And when I put my palm on the crate wall, I swear, it vibrated, just slightly, like something inside was breathing. You need to go, the man said. Now. I hesitated, half expecting the forklift driver to stop loading it. But he didn't even blink, just locked it into place, slammed the trailer shut, and banged the side twice. Load secure. I checked the manifest. No signature. No client name. Just one word in the deliver to line. Barrow. No state. No street. Just Barrow. I almost radioed dispatch for clarification, but something about that man's voice kept playing in my head. Don't speak to it. So I climbed in. Turned the key. And as I pulled out of that cracked lot, I caught a glimpse of something in my side mirror. The man wasn't watching me. He was staring at the trailer. The road out was barren, just a thin ribbon of cracked asphalt curling through frostbitten trees and frost-glazed fields. I punched Barrow into the GPS, but nothing came up. I tried city, town, anything, still nothing. Eventually, I found a logging road labeled Barrow Trail, but it didn't look traveled. My route planner flagged it as unverified. I was about to reroute when the CB clicked on. No one was speaking. Just a soft breath, like someone was exhaling through the mic. I turned it off. 30 minutes later, it started. Just a faint tap. I thought maybe the chains on the load had shifted. Maybe the rig hit a pothole. But the tapping kept happening, in rhythm, like a knock, like fingers. I turned up the music. Static. Every station, pure static. It got colder. Not just the cab. My hands went numb. The vents were blowing heat, but it felt like dry ice was pushing through them. My breath fogged up the windshield, and frost traced long, reaching lines across the glass, like roots growing in reverse. At the next rest stop, I pulled over to check everything. As I stepped out, the cold hit me like a wall. My boots crunched into frost that hadn't been there 10 minutes ago. I walked back to the trailer. The warning label, do not open ever, was glowing. Faint, like embers in dying coals. But it was visible even through the chain gaps. I blinked, wiped my eyes. The glow faded. Then the CB crackled to life again. This time a voice came through. Not mine. Not dispatch. A whisper. You're not supposed to stop. I froze, stepped back from the trailer. The chains rattled once. Just once. I ran back to the cab, locked the doors, turned the heater to full blast. It was blowing nothing but cold air. The cab light flickered. The knock came again. But this time, it wasn't from the trailer. It was from behind the passenger seat. I didn't turn around. I didn't want to see what was there. Instead, I hit the pedal and tore out of that rest stop, tires screeching, heart pounding in my throat. I wasn't alone anymore. I drove fast, too fast for a rig that size on winding roads. The frost didn't melt, even with the sun barely breaking over the horizon. It was like the temperature inside the cab was sealed off from the rest of the world. My fingers were stiff, my lips numb, and my bones ached with a cold that didn't belong in September. I avoided looking at the rearview mirror. Every time I glanced up, the trailer looked longer. At first, I thought it was just the angle, shadows playing tricks, but mile after mile, the distance between my cab and the taillights grew, impossibly so. Like the truck was stretching. At mile marker 203, a pickup passed me on the left and laid on the horn. A few seconds later, the CB buzzed again. Driver, something's hanging off your load, you know that? I grabbed the mic. What do you mean? A pause. It looked like a guy. Or I don't know. Climbing on the side. You might want to check it out. My mouth went dry. I slowed the rig just enough to glance at the dash cam screen. It was black dot. Then it flickered. Dot. Just for a second dot and I saw it. A shape. Thin. Pale. Arms bent at impossible angles. Crawling on the trailer walls, outside the chains, like a spider hugging the container. No eyes. No face. Just a gaping, grinning mouth stretching across where its head should have been. I slammed the brakes. Hard. The whole rig groaned, tires screeching, chains rattling loud enough to drown my thoughts. I jumped out of the cab with my flashlight, heart in my throat, eyes scanning the trailer. Nothing. Just the crate. Still wrapped. Still sealed. But the frost was gone. The warning etched into the wood. No longer glowing. Instead, it had changed. The words were carved fresh, shavings still curled at the edges. Now it read, "You looked." I backed away from the wheel like it might bite me. That wave, it wasn't casual, it was mocking. Like it already knew I'd brake, like it had seen this all play out before. I tried the key again. Nothing. No lights, no turnover. Just a dead rig and a full-body chill crawling up my spine. Then came the knock. 3 slow taps on the passenger side window. I turned so fast I hit my head on the door frame. No one was there. But the Peterbilt's cab door was closed now. When did that happen? Its engine started again. No key turn, no driver. It just woke up like it had something to do. And then the passenger door opened. Something stepped out. But it wasn't right. It had my build, my coat, my boots. But the way it moved, too fluid, like bones weren't a factor. Its arms hung too low. Its head tilted too far to one side like it didn't know how to wear a body properly. It stepped toward my truck. I threw myself into the sleeper, crawled back into the darkest corner, heart hammering. I could hear it circling outside. Slow footsteps. In the gravel. Then. Tapping. Not. On the glass. On the metal. It was tracing the shape of the door with its nails. I grabbed a tire iron from the bunk and waited, holding my breath, sweat pouring down my back. Then everything stopped. No footsteps, no tapping, just silence. I waited. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then I peeked out through the curtain. The Peterbilt was gone. Vanished. No engine sound. No taillights. Just empty lot where it had been. My own truck powered back on like nothing had happened. Dash, lights blinking, radio softly hissing static. I climbed into the seat. The gas gauge read full, odometer unchanged. But the side mirror, it was still reflecting that Peterbilt. Sitting right next to me. Cab door open. Only, I wasn't in my own seat anymore. I was sitting in its passenger seat. Looking back at myself. Smiling. I came to in a Walmart. Parking lot 3 towns over. Mid-morning sun. Engine off. No memory of the drive. No Peterbilt. Just my rig, spotless and parked between 2 minivans like nothing happened. Dash cam was gone. Phone. Dead. I went to the service desk inside, asked what day it was. I'd lost nearly 12 hours. I tried telling a mechanic what happened, just the basics. That I'd seen a truck that wasn't right. That something had climbed out wearing me. He laughed, said I probably nodded off. Dreamt it. But I knew better. I junked my rig a week later. Couldn't sit behind the wheel without feeling like I wasn't alone in the cab anymore. Sometimes I still drive. Rentals, short hauls, but only during the day. And never in Wyoming. Because every so often I'll pass a rest stop and see a lone Peterbilt idling by itself. Lights on, engine purring, and for a second, just a flicker in my side mirror. I'll see someone sitting in the driver's seat. Wearing my hat. Waving. Like they remember me. Like they're still waiting for me to finish the ride I almost took. It was just another overnight stop. Flat stretch off I-25 in Wyoming. Sky black as tar, wind biting through my coat. I'd been driving close to 14 hours and needed sleep bad. Pulled into this tiny rest area, just one bathroom, 2 vending machines, and space for maybe 5 trucks. One spot left open next to an older Peterbilt idling with its hazards on. Didn't think much of it at first. The engine was humming low, headlights off, but dash lights glowing inside the cab. You see rigs like that all the time. Drivers napping with the heater running. I gave a friendly nod as I rolled in beside it like I always do. Just trucker courtesy. But something felt off the second I parked. The Peterbilt was too quiet. No movement in the cab. No flicker of a TV, no silhouette. I couldn't even see a foot sticking out of the sleeper. And yet, the engine kept purring like someone had just started it. I waited a while. Nobody got out. Nobody stirred. After about 10 minutes of staring through that windshield, I stepped out to check. Because I had a weird thought. What if no one was inside? The cold hit me the second I stepped down. That kind of dry, high plains chill that slides under your clothes and settles in your bones. I zipped up and walked around the front of the Peterbilt, boots crunching on loose gravel. I knocked on the driver's door. No answer. Knocked again, louder this time. 3 solid raps against the steel. Nothing. I cupped my hands to the glass and peered in. Empty. Cab light on. Radio silent. No clutter, no trash, not even a coffee cup. The seat was pushed all the way back like someone had just climbed out, but there was no one inside. I stepped back. Walked slowly around to the passenger side. Same story. Clean. Pristine. Everything tucked in and wiped down like it rolled out of a showroom, not cross-country highway. I checked the trailer. Dry van. Doors locked tight. No tire marks on the rear. Nothing to suggest he'd dropped off or picked up. The engine purred. Steady. Too steady. Like it was synced to something deeper than fuel and mechanics. I looked up at the sky. Just a reflex, I guess. No stars. Not one. I shook off the chill crawling up my spine and returned to my truck. Closed the door. Locked it. Sat there staring at that Peterbilt for another 15 minutes. Still no movement. Just soft orange glow from the cab, casting the shape of an empty steering wheel. Something about the stillness bugged me. Rigs are lived in. They're messy, personal. They smell like sweat, bad coffee, fast food. But this one, it felt staged. Like a replica of a truck. Like someone, or something, had made one based on memory alone. It had all the right pieces. But the human part, that was missing. I finally leaned back, killed my lights, and tried to settle in. Told myself maybe the guy ran inside the rest stop and I just missed him. But the whole time I couldn't stop watching that rig through my side mirror. Engine humming. Lights pulsing soft. And for a moment, I could have sworn I saw a shadow move. Behind the wheel. Just for a second. But it wasn't moving like a person. It was around 2:30 a.m. when the headlights blinked on. No engine rev. No cab movement. Just click. Bright beams cutting across the gravel like a switch had flipped inside. They stayed on for about 5 seconds. Then off again. I sat up straighter in my seat, heartbeat rising, eyes locked on the Peterbilt. Nothing else moved. My own cab was dark, engine off, but I swear I felt a vibration in the floor, faint, rhythmic, like breathing through concrete. Then the cab door on the Peterbilt creaked open. Slow, methodical. No footsteps, no shadow exiting, just the door drifting, wide on squeaky hinges, holding it full open like someone was standing there, deciding. I opened my glove box, grabbed my flashlight, and made the dumbest decision of my life. I got out. Walked over again, light in one hand, the other resting on the cold steel of my own truck like I was tethering myself to something real. The door was open, yeah, but the cab was still empty. I swept the flashlight beam across the inside. Dashboard gleamed. Seatbelt unbuckled. Nothing on the seats. Then I heard it. The radio. It wasn't static this time. It was talking. But only when I pointed the light away. Every time I aimed the flashlight inside, silence. When I turned it just slightly, There it was again. Soft, murmuring, like someone talking to themselves in a dark room. I leaned closer. Dot strained to make out the words, Dot. And then I heard my name, Dot, clear as day. Jake. Not shouted, Dot spoken, Dot casual, Dot like the way a friend would say it after walking into a diner. Dot. My knees buckled. I stumbled back, light swinging wildly. The voice cut out. The cab light flickered, then stayed on. I didn't even close the door. Dot ran straight back to my own rig, slammed it shut, locked everything, twice. Sat in the dark, flashlight on my lap, chest heaving. I checked my watch. 2:31 a.m. I waited to hear footsteps, something moving, a door slamming shut, but there was nothing. Dot. Just that humming engine. Dot. And an open door waiting for someone to climb inside. I didn't sleep. Dot just sat in the driver's seat, gripping the wheel like it could protect me. The Peterbilt sat still beside me, cab door wide, open interior light glowing like a trap set for moths. Dot. Around 3:15 a.m., the engine cut out. Dot. It didn't sputter or slow, just stopped. 1 second humming, the next, dead silence. The cab light stayed on. Door still open. But that sound, the moment it went quiet, felt like the air collapsed. Dot. My ears rang from the sudden stillness. I opened my dashcam app on my phone, hoping it caught something I could play back later, maybe laugh off. But what I saw made my throat close. Dot. There was someone in the Peterbilt earlier. I scrubbed back through the footage. Dot. At 2:13 a.m., someone climbed into the cab. Dot. But it wasn't the guy I expected. Dot. It was me. Dot. Same jacket, same hat, same limp in the left leg. Dot. Only I was already in my own truck the whole time, watching. Dot. The figure, my double, moved differently. Stiff, like every joint bent just slightly wrong. It climbed into the seat, looked straight at the dash cam, and smiled. Dot. Then the video glitched out. Cut to black. Dot. No timestamp. Dot. No file size. I set the phone down and looked up through the windshield. Dot. The Peterbilt's mirrors were reflecting my truck, but not the way they should. The angle was wrong. It showed me sitting in the cab staring out. But my face looked slack, eyes wide. No expression. Dot. Then my headlights blinked. Once. I hadn't touched anything. I turned the key in the ignition. Nothing. Dead. No power. No click. Dot. Then the Peterbilt's headlights flared back on, bright enough to blind me for a second. Dot. When my eyes adjusted, I saw it. A shape in the passenger seat of the other rig. Dot. Just a silhouette. Sitting still. Dot. But I knew it was watching me. Dot. It lifted one hand and waved. Dot. Like it was inviting me to come over. Dot. Or daring me. The metal of the trailer's side groaned, like it was breathing, like it was watching. I backed away slowly. I didn't know what I was delivering anymore. Dot. All I knew was, whatever had been inside that crate wasn't inside anymore. Dot. It was riding with me. Dot. The road narrowed as I pushed into the hills. Steep grades, blind turns, no guardrails. Snow was falling now, even though the forecast showed clear skies. Not flurries, full-on whiteout. Visibility dropped fast, and with it, so did my sanity. Dot. The thing hadn't shown itself again, but I felt it, breathing beside me, shifting in, the sleeper. A weight that pressed against the cab like a second driver, always just out of sight. Dot. The crate started to moan. I swear to God, it moaned. Dot. It was a low metallic groan, like steel bending under pressure, mixed with something wet, like whispering through a mouth full of water. I hit the brakes near a bend, unable to go further. My hands were shaking too hard. The GPS froze, then rebooted, flashing one single word across the screen: undeliverable. I climbed out into the storm. The crate was vibrating so hard the chains were starting to stretch. One of the links snapped off and skidded across the asphalt. Dot. And then, the crate exploded open. Dot. Not violently. Quietly. Like it unfolded. Dot. Inside was nothing. Dot. No body. No object. Just a black, pulsing void. like the back of a throat. Mid-scream. Wind screamed through the mountain pass as I stumbled back, blinking through snow and disbelief. Then I saw the inside of the trailer. Claw marks. Hundreds. Some small, like fingernails. Others, massive. Deep. Gouged all the way through the metal. And one handprint on the floor. Human shaped, but twisted. Elongated. Fingers too long, palm too wide. Burned into the steel like it had been pressed there with heat. A mark. But it wasn't. Someone else's hand. It was mine. Same scars. Same shape. But wrong. I turned to run, but the truck door slammed shut on its own. Locked me out. The engine turned over by itself. Headlights flared. Inside the cab. Something was sitting in my seat. Not on it. In it. Its body melted into the shape of mine. Wearing my jacket, hands on the wheel. And it turned to look at me. Same face. My face. But grinning. It tapped the window twice, then pulled away slowly, tires crunching over the ice. I was left in the snow, watching myself drive away. They found the rig 3 days later, parked perfectly outside a warehouse that had been condemned since the 90s. Empty. Engine off. Keys still in the ignition, but no sign of me. Because I wasn't in it. I walked back into town 2 days after that. Frozen, shaken, barefoot. No memory of how I got there. Just one image burned into my brain. My own eyes, staring back at me, from the driver's seat. I quit trucking the next morning. Sold everything. Moved across the country. But sometimes, I wake up in the middle of the night and feel the seatbelt pressing against my chest, even though I sleep in a bed. Sometimes, I find gravel in my boots or ice crystals forming on my windows from the inside. And every year, like clockwork on the anniversary of that haul, a box shows up on my doorstep. No return label, no markings. Sealed tight. But lately, I've noticed something new. The box isn't as cold as it used to be. And last year, it was open. Just a crack. Like it's waiting for me to look. But I won't, because some doors, you don't close once they're open. I've been a trucker for over 16 years. You'd think I'd seen it all. Whiteouts in Wyoming, brake failure in the Rockies, a guy ODing in the restroom of a rest stop diner. But nothing. Nothing comes close to what happened that night on Route 87 in New Mexico. I don't usually talk about this. Hell, I've tried to forget it, bury it under miles of road and gallons of coffee. But some stories don't stay buried. It started like any other haul. Quiet roads, good weather, a fresh thermos of black coffee riding shotgun. I was hauling reefer freight to Phoenix trying to make up time after a delay near Amarillo. Night driving never bothered me. It's peaceful. Fewer idiots. Just me, my rig, and the hum of tires on asphalt. But that night I saw someone on the shoulder. Just a blur at first in the high beams. A man, walking alone in the dark, no bag, no shoes. I don't know why I stopped. I've never picked up a hitchhiker before. Call it curiosity. Or a mistake I'll regret until the day I die. Because the man I picked up shouldn't exist. He didn't say a word at first. I pulled over and rolled down the passenger window just a crack. "You all right, man?" I asked. The guy just nodded, slow, like his neck had rust in it. His face was pale, soaked from the drizzle, and his eyes, they didn't match. One was a glassy blue, the other a deep brown. At first I thought maybe it was a condition, but it felt like something deeper than that. Like one of them didn't belong to him. "You need a ride or what?" I asked, half expecting him to just keep walking. He opened the door without answering and climbed in, dripping all over the seat. He was barefoot. Mud clung to his jeans, and his flannel shirt looked like it hadn't been washed in years. I kept glancing at him as I pulled back onto the road. "Where you headed?" He didn't look at me. "Just down the road." His voice was dry, hoarse, like it hadn't been used in a long time. Something in my gut twisted, but I brushed it off. I've seen all types out here, ex-cons, tweakers, folks running from things. Still, the silence started eating at me. You got a name? I asked Dot. He turned his head just enough for me to see a long scar running from his ear to his chin. Does it matter? That shut me up, Dot. We drove in silence for a few miles. The only sound was the low rumble of the engine and the occasional hiss of the tires over wet asphalt. I tried the radio. Static. Tried switching stations. More static. I flicked it off and glanced at him again. He was staring out the window completely still, hands resting on his lap. Something about the way he sat, too stiff, too composed, it made my skin crawl. The road stretched ahead like a black ribbon, and for the first time in a long time I felt the weight of the night pressing in, like the dark had grown teeth. "Hey," I said, trying to lighten the mood. "You're not going to kill me in my sleep or anything, right?" He smiled. Just a flicker. "No," he said. "You'll be wide awake." After that, I didn't say another word. I just kept my eyes on the road and my hand near the flashlight I kept wedged beside the seat. I don't scare easy. I've hauled through blizzards, seen a guy die of a heart attack right in the sleeper cab. But something about this man, his stillness, his voice, that freaking mismatched stare, felt off. Like he was pretending to be human but hadn't quite gotten the act right. The temperature in the cab dropped. Not a breeze or chill, but a full-on drop. I reached over and checked the thermostat. Still set at 72. I rubbed my arms and glanced at him. He hadn't moved, just stared into the night like he was waiting for something. Then the radio snapped on. It wasn't music or a DJ, just a burst of static, followed by what sounded like whispering. I reached for the knob. The volume rose on its own. More whispers. I swear to God I heard my name in there, drawn out like a hiss. Abdullah. I shut it off fast and tried to act like nothing happened. Glanced again. He was still staring out the window. "You hear that?" I asked, testing him. He turned his head slowly, those eyes boring into me. "I hear a lot of things. Not all of them are meant for you." That sent ice down my spine. A few miles later, I checked my side mirror. It was angled down, showing nothing but road and part of the trailer. I leaned to adjust it and froze. There was a shape in the dark. Not on the road, not in the truck. Inside the mirror. A pale face. Smiling. Not his face. Another one. I blinked. It was gone. Sweat formed on the back of my neck despite the cold. My fingers gripped the wheel harder. "What are you?" I muttered under my breath. He didn't answer. We rolled past an old, rusted-out billboard. It was for a fireworks shop that probably hadn't existed in 20 years. But scrawled across, it in red spray paint, were the words, "He brings the road with him." I swallowed hard. Whatever I'd let into my truck wasn't from here. And if it was going just down the road, I had a feeling that road didn't end in Phoenix. I needed a break. I saw the glow of a gas station sign flickering in the distance. One of those old mom-and-pop stops with a single pump and a cracked Coke machine out front. A little oasis in the dark. "I'm stopping for gas," I said, even though I still had half a tank. No response. He didn't even blink. I pulled in, engine rumbling as I parked near the pump. The lot was empty, the station glowing dimly under buzzing yellow lights. Inside, a middle-aged guy in a grease-stained vest stood behind the counter, sipping coffee like he'd been doing it for the past 40 years. I left the truck idling and stepped inside. The warm air hit me like a blanket, and for a second, I felt normal again. I grabbed a bottle of water and walked to the register. The clerk's eyes locked onto me, then shifted over my shoulder, out the window toward the truck. "You driving solo?" he asked casually. "No," I said. Picked up a hitchhiker back on 87. He went pale. Actually, pale. His hand trembled a little as he reached for the coffee pot. "You sure about that?" I squinted at him. "Yeah." "Why?" He set the pot down slowly. "You pulled in alone." I turned to the window. The passenger seat was empty. "What the hell?" I muttered. I rushed outside, heart pounding. The door was still closed. The cab looked untouched. I yanked the passenger side open. Nothing. No wet spots on the seat. No footprints, no smell. Just nothing. I ran my hands over the upholstery. Dry, I didn't imagine it. I couldn't have imagined it. I circled the truck, looked under it, behind it, even popped the trailer latch and swung the doors open. Empty crates. No one there. The gas station guy was standing outside now, arms crossed tight. Sometimes, he said, things ride with you without riding with you, if you catch my drift. I didn't respond. Couldn't. He backed away. You ought to get back on the road, trucker, before it gets closer. Before what gets closer? He didn't answer, just stared at me like he'd already seen what was coming. I climbed back into the cab, locked the doors, and that's when I noticed it. The passenger seatbelt was buckled. I unbuckled the belt like it burned my fingers. Every nerve in my body screamed to get out, abandon the rig, run until my legs gave out. But I'm not built that way. This truck's my livelihood, my home, my one constant. I wasn't going to let some hitchhiker ghost thing scare me off the road. Still, comma. As I pulled back onto the highway, I kept glancing at that seat. Empty, but wrong. Like the air itself was heavier there. I drove in silence for what felt like an hour. The road ahead seemed endless. The GPS froze, stuck at 11:13 p.m., no matter how far I drove. The signal bar was gone, no radio, no cell service. Then I saw movement in the rearview mirror. It was fast, just a blur at first. Then it was him, sitting in the sleeper behind me. I nearly drove off the road. What the hell? I slammed the brakes. The tires screeched as the rig shuddered to a stop on the shoulder. I leapt out, circled the truck again, heart hammering, checked every inch. Nothing. But when I climbed back in, the cab lights flickered, the engine sputtered. Then the radio turned on again. This time crystal clear. It was my own voice. You're not going to kill me in my sleep, right? The reply echoed in stereo. You'll be wide awake. I slammed the radio off. That's when the mirrors started to fog from the inside. I looked down and saw footprints. Bare, wet, muddy, leading from the back of the cab toward the driver's seat. I froze. Then came the whisper. Right behind me. In my ear. You're on my road now. I floored it. The truck roared forward, engine screaming louder than I'd ever heard. The lights flickered, dashboard glitching. Every mile marker looked the same. Every curve repeated like I was stuck in some looped nightmare. I don't know how long I drove like that. Could have been minutes. Could have been days. Then the engine cut. Dead. The truck rolled to a stop in front of a wooden sign, lit by my dying headlights. Welcome to Perdition. Population 1. Behind me, something shifted. I didn't turn around. Because I finally understood. I hadn't picked him up. He'd picked me. And now I was on his route. That was 3 years ago. I was found wandering a dirt road 40 miles from where the rig disappeared. No wreckage, no sign of the truck. Just me, barefoot, mumbling about mirrors and a hitchhiker with mismatched eyes. They chalked it up to exhaustion, stress, maybe a breakdown, but I know what I saw, what I felt. I never got my truck back, never got an explanation, just the silence of the road and a face that still visits me in my sleep. Now, I only drive days. Short hauls. I keep a crucifix on my dash and a sharpened Bowie knife under the seat. Not because I think I can stop whatever that thing was, but because it makes me feel less alone. Sometimes, on quiet nights, I hear static creeping into the radio, like a warning. And once, just once, I heard that same whisper again. You're on my road now. I killed the engine. Slept in a motel that night. If you ever find yourself out near Route 87 and see a barefoot man on the shoulder with a crooked smile and mismatched eyes, don't stop. Keep driving. And for God's sake, don't look in the mirror.